The second way you could perhaps do this, I think, but tell me if I'm wrong, would be to get a little team. So to take somebody from sales, somebody from design, and somebody from production, and say, you're going to come out and be a little microcosm.
Yeah, a cell we might call it.
A cell, and there's going to be 3 of you
Yeah.
in there,
Nice.
and you're going to work together, and you do the selling, you do the design, you do the production, and between you hopefully you'll be profitable, and you'll communicate really well because there's only 3 of you, and there won't be big battles between departments. You'll have to have the occasional meeting where you talk about stuff, but it's going to be pretty efficient, and we will know if it's profitable or not, and so will you. And if one of you is doing a crap job, let's say suppose the designer's crap, there's going to be huge pressure from the other 2 because you're letting us down, and you're going to know if anyone's not doing their share or is not able to produce the quality, you're going to know. So that should work pretty well as a little cell. And then later you can take another 3 and another 3 and another 3.
Now let me think about this.
Would that be a way?
Well, you think I'm going to make a couple of comments on here. So one is the Ringelmann effect.
Yeah.
Okay, which you have
so you get
ignored.
You get less output.
So you get less
from
output
3 than you do
from
1
from the one individual. So that's one. 2, people will stay in their specialisation, despite all attempts not to. They will continue.
So within here, you mean these 3 will remain specialised. The salesperson won't help with design.
The salesperson won't help with design, and the design person won't help with production. They'll
No,
stay
but
in
at
their
least you've
little
got a little
boxes.
unit now.
You have got a smaller unit, yes. But from our experience is that there was a problem with that particular one, and I think we discussed this about social loafing. We discussed it about the internal bargains, which weren't
But you think
internal.
somebody's going to loaf in this little cell?
Oh yes.
Now, so let's focus on this, and let's say, in your work today, Chris, what proportion of your time is spent doing sales?
5%.
Can you write that up there?
5% in your little team.
What here?
5%.
5%.
Okay, fantastic. And design, how much design do you do?
10%, let's say.
Okay, so we're at 15%.
And how much delivery?
I'm going to go 85%.
You're like a genius, you are.
Yeah, I mean, you could say 1% finance.
But you know something, he'd be wrong, because exactly, what about all your admin and finance and the logistics?
Well, I'll put admin 5%.
Okay, so let me ask you another question.
And then 80% delivery.
Good.
Is it really
Production, as I'm
80%? Do you
calling it.
spend 4 days out of 5 training?
Well, in the past I actually have, incredibly, but I mean at the moment, not really. I don't really work that hard. But all of these numbers are they're the same proportion, but of a smaller amount.
Okay. So let's say that. So what we've got now
Those are
we've got
percentages of 3 days a week.
the person is doing the production is doing 4 days a week, and sales and design combined are doing
I'm
one
doing
day.
1 day a week.
Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Now I want you.
No, it's not a problem for sales and design, by the way.
No, but I want to capture the idea now straight away in these value add things, because of the proportions are laid out like this. It's clear that production must be subsidising sales and design in the conventional business. So sales are adding value, design are adding value, but the 80% of people, 80% of the value is being added by the production team.
But you've got more people in production.
Of course, but you haven't.
But we haven't. You've only got 3
not in your
people.
team, you haven't.
Oh, not in my team. No,
So how's it
I
gonna
might
work?
have to pull out 1 of those and 3 of those, though. I mean, I could perhaps do that.
Well,
but I agree, it's never going to really
you're at
balance, and it's
quarter
going to
now.
fluctuate as well. I can see that.
Do the real numbers and say work out how many people you have to have in your team.
So base it on sales.
Well, I could have 4 of those, 1 of those, and.
Well, no, you have to
half
have one.
of
Well, you
those.
can't have half a man, so you have to put the sales as 1 man.
Yeah. Well, I really don't want
And
to have
then
1,
the
2,
designers-
and 8.
You
or
do.
whatever. But that's too many now. That's not a sell anymore.
Okay, but you do, because that is what that is alluding to. You can't get away with that.
Unless the salesperson does the admin, I have 1 person doing that, 1 person doing that, but then I still need 8 people doing production, don't I? Yeah.
Now, this is why on the previous model you could just subcontract the production bit, because what you're developing is the Lego interaction, the ability for this person, this individual, to trade with the rest of the organisation, the bit of sales it needs, a bit of design it needs, and the bit of HR.
Well, that's my third option. In fact, I'm going to reach for a different colour for this third option.
Oh, green one, not red.
Yeah, no.
That's his preferred one.
Yeah,
in
no,
green.
it's not. No,
Oh,
but my
right.
first one I like is just taking 1 person out, I think, actually.
Okay.
But no, my third one is to say, right, forget all that, forget the red bits. I've got this organisation, I'm not happy with it. it's making a loss
It's
or
subsisting.
overall, and these measures I can't nail down who exactly is responsible for what.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of fractalizing it, but how do I do it? So maybe I would just divide production. In fact, you can either take a piece off the edge and make that into a cell, or halve it and say these are the people making the 3 series, these are doing the 5 series, or these are the people who are doing the training in Scotland and these are the ones who do it in Wales, or whatever. And divide production. And this was called group technology back in the 70s, wasn't it? And we divided production down into cells. So at least in production, you don't have a whole load of milling machines and a whole load of lathes or whatever. You have a little cell that has its own milling and its lathe, and they've got ownership of that. And they could sell finished stuff to the salespeople, who would then sell it to the customer, or they would perhaps buy a bit of design time, so there'd be sort of transactions between these. So you would pay the designers for the drawings, and if the designs were crap, you might decide to go outside and get somebody else to do your design for you, or consider doing it yourself. But so you could divide, and you might divide design as well. So it could be that the people who make the 3 series have a 3 series design team, and the people who are making the 5 series, put a square for that one, they have designers that go with them. And so, and you might even divide sales as well, so that they've got different sales. But the main thing is you would start by, rather than pulling somebody out, you start just by dividing down some of your departments.
Okay, now so what you're doing now is you're doing.
So at least you've got more measurement and control and more ownership and more motivation.
Effectively, this is the path that we trod, which is the cleave the business into 2.
Yes.
And then take
and
representatives from each side.
You then said, because we've made it smaller, your production control is not needed. And because you've made it smaller, you can do your own quality control. And quite a few companies have put the machine operators in charge of quality control as well, and they regard that as really radical, don't they? Because people are actually going to care about. But if you divide it down, quality control gets easier and production control gets easier, sort of non-existent really. And the stores, which we also didn't mention, that's probably over here.
That's what I meant by logistics, by the way.
You could then say, well, you can have your own store. Oh, logistics, right?
Yeah.
So you could do your own logistics and stuff. So you could, if you divide the factory down, you can start to pull in those functions, and I think that's the third way that one could do it.
It's costly, and you're battling a culture because you're not separating anything. So you're just separating the design team in half, sort of thing. And you're also, so you don't save very much, and then you're basically you've got to find ways that the 2 halves of the business now can transact seamlessly.
You're losing the flexibility as well, because if we sell more 3 series than 5 series, the production's going to be all out of whack, the design's out of whack, and the whole point of it being a department was they could move the work around within the department.
Yeah.
So you've lost that by cleaving it.
So I like your team, but we've got a little bit of problem with proportions of people.
Yes.
And equipment, of course. And I like your individual microcosm.
That's it. That first one seems the way to go to me.
No, well, there's another way, of course.
If someone can do everything.
There is another way to go. You're missing, of course, and that is to start another microcosm, outside. Not take anybody from the existing organisation, but take it from outside.
Oh, well, so this person could have just come from
That's
here.
fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Now, one of the benefits.
And that's what
of
you
that,
recommend.
Well, no, I'm not. I don't
Certainly,
think
there's no culture.
I don't think. Let's not make that. Just say there's options.
Yeah.
Let's say there's potentially 4 options. Okay, which we're looking at there.
Well, I think my
And
second
it might be
one
a
as
hybrid.
well.
It might be a hybrid.
My second one could come from outside. So you could say we'll get 1 salesperson and 4 production people from outside. Or suppose production is so specialist that there's, say you got welding or something that just nobody else can learn, because I've tried learning welding, it's too hard for me. So you might set up a microcosm that has, a salesperson, a welder, and another production person who does everything else. And then they could be a group of 3, and they could come from outside.
But can you see how you drifted straight back into verbs?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, can't help going back into.
So what's so just imagine the sales, design, production are actually separate cells. Okay, rather than you've got them all lumped into one cell, I'm saying no, you're not allowed that. You're only allowed one person a cell.
Okay.
And you have to then have a sales cell, a design cell, and a production cell, and they can contract with each other, okay, however they choose. Yeah, but you can have then what you've got in one cell in 3 cells or more than 3 cells.
So you separated by the function, not just made them into a multifunctional team.
So you're saying you would have, if we have sales, let's just forget design for the moment, just have sales and production to make it simpler.
Well, I'm happy with that.
Well,
I did start as a designer,
Right,
but let's not worry about design.
I've come
I'm
over
not
all
there
kidding.
now.
I'll keep them in.
No, thank goodness for that.
So you'd have. You'd have the production people would be a little cell of maybe only
No,
two
just one.
or just one person,
And have
who
another
sells
cell.
it to.
But hold on. You have more than you because of the ratio you've got on the left-hand side.
Yes.
You need more cells in production. So you need that's it. Perfect.
Okay, and they all sell stuff and have their own profit and loss.
Yeah.
And they sell stuff to. Actually, it wouldn't be design.
It
would
wouldn't.
They would. Sorry, they would sell it to sales.
Yes.
And they would all be selling to sales, and then they would be buying from design. They would buy a service
Yes.
if they want it.
If they want it.
And there might be one designer or who supplies them all. Let's say.
Oh, it could be 5
Well,
designers.
it could be.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but there's a sort of internal market, and of course they probably would buy from the good designer rather than the bad designer.
That's it. They would buy from the good one.
Then the prices would vary, or whatever.
Exactly.
Or this person would have to get their act together because nobody's buying from them. So you've got design.
Or they maybe have to sell their services, design services, outside because there's not enough business inside.
Yeah. So I'll use a different colour for that. So they might be buying some design service from outside.
Yeah. And the designer might be selling outside.
Yes, that's true. They could be selling to outside production people.
Yeah.
So then you've got your production people who each have their own profit and loss.
Yes. Everybody's got their own profit and loss. The design
Yeah.
people have theirs.
Which sounds very bureaucratic, but I guess it wouldn't be.
It's all automated. It's
Yeah.
very simple.
So they are getting a bit from there, but they're mostly buying in components, processing them, and then they would either go straight to a customer,
So 80.
Yeah.
So
or
just
they would sell it to the sales department.
Yes.
So the production people are buying and selling, and they're either selling it directly to a customer, because you could have that model, or if your customer is somebody like Sainsbury's who doesn't want to deal with loads of people, you could have a salesperson who deals with the customer, and they just buy it from you, put a
Yeah.
small markup on to
Yeah.
allow for the effort they're doing,
Yeah.
and then they send it all to the customer.
Yeah.
So it's a supply chain. It's an internal market.
Fantastic.
It's a supply chain of people who've all got their own P&L.
It's a network, isn't it?
Yes,
It's a network of these. It's very complicated,
and you could
like
say to-
any supply chain.
yeah, but it'll just look after itself.
But it's self-organizing,
yeah,
isn't it?
and you could say to these people from now on, we're all going to work in a networky way, but they're going to resist that hugely. So you probably would set this up
Well,
in
there's
parallel
hold on a minute,
until
there's-
you've hollowed this out, and then you just get rid of the carcass.
That's